What is up, guys? It is the Messenger here, coming back to you with yet another lessons learned video. And well, this is coming a little bit late. Sorry I wasn't able to upload a full-on video last week. The reason for that is because I was busy with my own event. It was the Forlinger Vote event. Well, some people there, they came up with this interesting idea to call it Comet Con. I don't know why, but hey, I stick to what I got. It was interesting. There were a bunch of DMs there that were my players, and I gave them adventures, or they designed their own adventures. I was very proud of them. They made great strides, and they showed some interesting dynamics, and they got to see how they think as DMs and how they operated. I had 3 of my players DMing at separate tables, and I'd go around and I'd double check, and of course, whatever they did, I allowed it to be canon. I had about, I think, 30 or 40 people there. It was awesome, right? Some people showed up I didn't even expect to go. And we had a blast, so I was busy with that. And then I've been hosting several sessions, and wow, I've got so many sessions in my backlog for this. But I might as well start with this one. You know, you may be wondering, for this Lessons Learned video, why am I busting out the Baldur's Gate miscellany? Well, you'll see, you'll figure out why. Well, the way I run adventures in my games, at least pre-packaged adventures, is that I like using the ideas or the premise, and then I have that going, and then I say, well, that's interesting. I will use the setting to an extent, or at least the ideas and the themes, but I'll create my entirely own adventure. So I'm not following the Descendant to the Avernus module, although it is quite extensive and quite nice. It does have its own quirks, things I like about it, things I don't. And so I have my own ideas, and this is heavily related to the session that happened, I believe, 3 weeks ago. Yes, I had the unique experience, unique for me, to run a low-level campaign. It's not often that happens because most of my campaigns, they start around the same time. There's like a whole season for it, right? People are playing every month, sometimes twice a month, and we're going through a whole story, and all the players are going through the same world. It's awesome, right? I've been doing it for 5 years, hasn't gone bad for me since then. And this is a new group starting at around near the end of the season, where all the other groups are like max level, and it's awesome. So the new group, they were a bunch of players. They've never played with me before. As a matter of fact, all these players were either experienced players, right? Maybe there was this one person that was not too experienced in D&D at all, or complete DMs, right? DMs, like Dungeon Masters. So they had a good amount of experience under their belt, and sometimes when I'm DMing for people like that, I get a little worried that, oh, maybe they will judge, or they'll say, oh, that's not cool, or that's not working out, or this DM's doing something that I definitely wouldn't do. But I suggest that you throw out all of these worries and anxieties out the door, because in the end, when those players played through my game, they had an absolute blast, just like anyone else who goes through my campaigns. Anyway, so the story in their game was that they were moving through this dungeon. And I started out the campaign where they made first level characters, and they said, and they didn't have a full-fledged backstory for any of them, right? They didn't read through the lore blurb, and I was like, we got to put some work into this. So in order to sort of drag them in to the whole immersion and storytelling, I said, all right, you have your first level characters, you have all your character sheets. They were like, all right, put all of those aside, and I pulled out a bunch of pre-mades out from the back of my blue folder, right? And I say, all right, pick and choose one. They were basically the D&D starter character sets. They were a fighter with a great sword and great axe, a fighter that was ranged, they had a wizard, a rogue, and I believe a dwarven cleric. So they were dealing with, oh sorry, I still have a marker here, that's because I was hosting earlier tonight. That's for another session. So I said, alright, you guys are playing as these premates, and you're moving through this dungeon. And I barely described the dungeon. I basically cutscened them in where they were sort of moving into this place and trying to uncover what had happened to a mining party that they had gone with, that had gone in here in the past that had disappeared. And they were investigating. They uncovered the story of why they were here as they went along through my descriptions, and they uncovered who they were as characters through, well, flaws and other things like that. And they were quite experienced, most of them, in playing D&D, so they adapted to the roles quite amicably, which made me happy. So it was then that they went to the bottom. They realized, oh, we're being followed. And suddenly a horde of demons, right, dretches, begin to charge through the darkness of the caverns that they had just traveled through. Like, everything they had just explored, basically, it's now filled with demons. So they're being thrown into the dungeon. They're being pushed back into the dungeon. I've made out the maps for them already, and they're going deeper and deeper through these maps, and they're like, whoa, all these places we've just investigated, it's now being filled, what are we doing? So they decide to just back up, keep going back, keep going deeper, because there's no way for them to break through, because these guys are first level. And this was a plan, because of course these are pre-mades. This is more like a cutscene they get to play through, and they get to make choices. And these demons, they pushed them in towards this altar area. And they were like, oh no, how do we get out? We're stuck. This is a dead end. And one of them realizes, no, we're not stuck. There's a door at the end. But the door has a puzzle. They then enact what seems to be a ritual of sorts after their warlock, or after their cleric begins to understand that, this is solved by a riddle. So they perform the ritual, and the ritual just so happens to be not just any ritual, a summoning ritual. This may sound familiar for many. They break open the door, they perform the ritual thinking that they will escape, and what happens is they open something. They open, well, what is essentially an alcalith, or what I would like to refer to as a gate demon. And this demon opens up a portal to the abyss. Not just any section of the abyss, but a very specific one that throughout many of my campaigns from other player groups has played a good amount of role, or at least the Lord of this layer of the abyss has played a good role in the events that have transpired within my campaigns. I will not say it in this video. When the gaming group has their next session, I will divulge it, right? But for now, I want to maintain it spoiler-free, because I realize that, dang, some of my players are watching my vids and I'm spoiling it for them. So then, many of their characters, they die. They die in terrible ways. Some of them are ripped apart. Some of them are, like, smashed by boulders or pulled backwards in towards the darkness. Others are, like, just mauled on by hordes. One is even dominated by, well, secret, but the NPC version of one of my player characters, who was actually still active, right? He was under his guidance, because they were actually he's an evil PC, and they're actually playing through his plans, right? Little spoiler for next time, I'll expound on it. So, but one of them survives. One of them is able to escape by finding a secret exit. Use those stone cunning dwarves. That's very useful. He finds a secret exit. He climbs up the stairs. He's able to escape. He wanders alone through the wilderness through several days using my natural explorer rules, and he gets away in towards the city, the township, down the mountain, through the forest, in towards the township of New Ambermill. Small town, about a day away towards the next city, through difficult terrain, unless you move through the main roads, which are hounded by bandits sometimes. And that is when I take away the pre-mades, and I let the player group use their main characters. Now, it's at this point I say, well, since you guys have some experience under your belt now, might as well bump up those level 1 characters to level 2, and that gave them some relief. So, this is a little tactic I use, right, if the players aren't fully immersed in their characters yet, if they don't have the opportunity to form a proper backstory, I give them pre-mades, and I let these pre-mades go through a quick, maybe 1 hour at most, cutscene, which sets up the story in the background for what the real characters of these players will go through. And if I'm generous enough, I'll let the players level up and say, oh, you guys are experienced adventurers at this point, more experienced than the people that came before you. Sometimes you can employ this tactic while flipping the situation around. You can give them level 5, level 10 characters, and all have them be defeated. But there are some downsides to this. An inexperienced DM can have the issue of just saying, you die, not being able to set up the right conditions, traps, enemies, what have you, right, to actually employ these effects, and then become frustrated when the group continues to succeed. I warn you that if the group succeeds, let them. But understand that if you intend for them to lose, allow for it to happen in a believable manner. right? You can't just have them die after performing so well just with a hand wave, right? You have to put the stress high on them. That's why I like employing this tactic by allowing them to play lower level characters. It's also, if a group hasn't played a game in a while, it's also refreshing to to start the session by allowing them to play lower level characters, and then these lower level characters are saved by their real characters, and you drop the experienced group back in, right? It's nice. It's a nice way of reintroducing the group to each other, to themselves, right? I'll show you what the dretches sort of look like. Maybe if I show you what the dretches look like, you'll have a general idea of what a layer of the abyss they were in, that they had opened that portal to. So this is a dretch specifically born from the layer of the abyss, from the layer of the abyss from which the demon lord Yinogu comes from, right? And you can see that they look specifically like him, because the demon lords, they have the ability to morph in shape, either consciously or unconsciously, the demons and beings within their own realm. So it has like hyena and cannibalistic and sharp teeth face on towards it. Very different from the dretch within the monster manual, which is generally like apish in form. The demons that the dretches that they had fought, they had like these small, stubby, flightless wings, huge hulking arms, and these fin-like ears, and this almost, how do I say this, bestial but slightly humanoid face, massive claws, and jaunt black skin with blue fur. Those experienced with the Forgotten Realms campaign might recognize the Demon Lord and the Abyssal Lair that I'm talking about. Anyway, so I guess that's what the video is going to be about. Has been about. Just introducing your characters and introducing new campaigns in an interesting way. The lessons learned here being, just find new and interesting ways to introduce groups towards new sessions. And also find unique and captivating and interactive, dynamic ways to introduce new campaigns and storylines. This one was a way that I give as an example. You can come up with anything you have. If you have any interesting ideas, feel free to drop them down in the comments section. And I'm pretty active there. If you guys drop anything down, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. And we can totally geek out and nerd out on whatever cool stuff you have in mind. So yeah, I guess that ends this video. Still got to work on that. And to my viewers that have been with me for a while now, thanks so much for your patronage. I hope I don't let you down. Now, see ya. Boop.